What if I told you that the difference between a finished book and an endless work in progress comes down to 10 proven strategies? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing the exact tips that help successful authors to actually finish their book. And make sure to stay to tip number 10. It's the game changer that most first-time authors wish they knew from the very start. Tip number 1, start with your table of contents. Now, I'm framing it as the table of contents on purpose because I found that as a writing coach, a lot of first-time authors are very intimidated by the idea of creating an outline. And essentially, your outline turns into your table of contents. But I'm framing it as the table of contents because once you publish your book on Amazon, on your book's page, under your book cover, there will be a button that says Read Sample. And once a person clicks on that Read Sample, they're able to see the first 10 to 15% of your book. And it will give the reader a chance to figure out whether or not your book is the book that they want to read. So make sure when you're thinking about your outline, think about it instead as a table of contents. I promise you it will take a lot of the pressure off and you can be way more creative and think about chapter titles and what's going to go in those chapters as opposed to this idea of outlining. Tip number 2, don't write and edit simultaneously. Now, this is one of those tips that I know a lot of first-time writers hear, but they don't actually execute. And I was also guilty of this. But the reason why you don't want to write and edit at the same time is because ultimately it ends up slowing down your progress and you're never going to write the end if you're constantly writing and editing. So what you want to do first is take all of your ideas and get them out of your head and onto your computer. And then once you have all of your ideas on your computer, then you want to dedicate future writing sessions to the editing process. And that's where you're going to go in and look to see if you can change or update word choices, improve sentences, paragraphs, and sometimes even chapters. But writing and editing at the same time is only going to keep you from writing the end. Tip number 3 is to face your writing obstacles head on. So basically what I mean by this is to identify what's really stopping you from making progress with your book. So for example, as a writing coach, I often hear first-time authors say that they're not really good with grammar or they're not really good with spelling. And then our next step is to identify what solutions will help them to get over that obstacle. So for example, I may recommend Grammarly or the spelling grammar check within their writing software. And a lot of times what we really find when we get down into the heart of it is that what's really stopping them from making progress is fear. So once you start to write and gain more confidence in your writing, that fear starts to dissipate. So don't let fear or some other type of writing obstacle stop you from finishing your book. Tip number 4 is to create your writing plan. So if you've been a subscriber to my channel or even a client of mine, you know that I don't necessarily subscribe to this idea of writing every single day. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that are making that recommendation, and I understand why they're making that recommendation. But when I was a first-time author, I found that advice to be so overwhelming. I was a mom, I was working full-time, I was also going to school full-time. So the idea of writing 7 days a week was way too overwhelming for me. So what I recommend instead is that you write consistently. Now, I'm not saying that you should go weeks on end without writing. I do think that you need to be writing on a weekly basis. But I also think that you should take some of that pressure off of you and say, okay, realistically, based on my schedule and what's going on in my life, I can only write about 2 days a week. You need to then write consistently 2 days a week. And that will take some of that pressure off of you from having to feel like you need to write every single day. That consistency will build momentum. And so on those days when you do write, you will typically write better and you will write more. Tip number 5 is to work with beta readers. Now, beta readers are people within your target audience that are avid readers of the genre that you're writing in. So these aren't going to be your family or your friends unless they actually fall into that category. But these are people that are avid readers, like they love your genre. And the reason why you want to use these beta readers is because they can give you feedback on what you're going to write or what you've already written. So they can answer questions that you may have. And so what I find is that a lot of first-time authors either won't use beta readers at all, or they wait too late in the process. So now while they're writing, they're overwhelmed. They don't know where the writing process is going. They have questions about what their target audience is thinking. marketing, when in fact your target audience is right there to answer your question if you would take on a few beta readers within your writing process. So my recommendation is to get 3 to 5 beta readers, and then you can continue to use them when you're done with your writing for things such as your book cover, your marketing plan, your book description. They're always there to provide their insight. All right, so now we're at the halfway mark, and I want you to make sure you stay to the end, because tip number 10 is the professional secret. I've used it to help hundreds of other authors to actually finish their book. Tip number 6 is one of my favorite tips, and that is to write during your peak energy hours. I'm gonna make it simple. If you are extremely tired, you've worked, you care for your kids, and now you're trying to write, you're probably not gonna have the same motivation you would have at your peak energy level. So you need to figure out what that peak energy level is, whether it's the time of day or the day of the week, and write during that time. Tip number 7 is to create a distraction-free environment. Now, this is gonna mean something different for everyone. For you, it may mean that you need to go to your wife or your husband and say, hey, can you watch the little ones for an hour? I'm gonna be writing. But for me, what it means is that I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, I put my computer on Do Not Disturb, and that means that I'm not answering emails, I'm not answering text messages or phone calls, I'm not Googling anything unless I need to do so for research, I don't have a TV going in the background. And what I found is that it allows me to write more, it allows me to be more creative, and to get more writing done during my writing sessions. Tip number 8 is to develop a completion mindset. So the difference between an aspiring author and a published author is simply just the mindset. So in tip number 4, I recommended that you create a writing plan, and that was intentional because everything that you do in that step is going to push you towards that completion mindset. Things such as setting a publish date, determining your word count, determining how many days in a week that you need to write. All of those things are pushing you towards this completion mindset. But the other thing that it does, it takes you out of that perfectionism trap. It builds your confidence, and all of those things will actually help you to finish your book. Tip number 9 is another one I love, and it's to repurpose your existing content. So think of your existing content as starting points. So if you have a blog or a website or information that you share with your clients, all of that information can be a starting point for a chapter. And we know that as first-time authors, or even just as authors in general, a lot of what's overwhelming us is the blank page. And if you have a starting point like existing content that you can repurpose, it will absolutely help you to finish your manuscript much quicker. And now for tip number 10, work with a developmental editor. Now this is a game-changing strategy that transforms your manuscript into a market-ready book. And I find that a lot of first-time authors skip this crucial step simply because they don't understand the value in it. They think that when they finish writing, it's ready to publish. But then when they publish, they find that they're struggling to stand out in the market and that their book is not resonating with their target audience. Let me just share with you what one of my clients said after going through this developmental editing process. As a developmental editor, I not only evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of your book, but I also look at your manuscript from the perspective of the target audience and genre, which are two valuable pieces of information that no other edit really gives you. I'm also looking at it from the perspective of structure, pacing, tone, point of view, and your own writing voice. Think of it this way. Many authors get stuck in this endless loop of rewrites because they don't know if their book is working. A developmental editing takes all those questions away and lets you know exactly what you need to do to get your book to completion so that it's market ready and so that it can compete with those other books on the market. This means that you can move forward with confidence that your book will resonate with its target audience. So there you have it, 10 proven strategies that will help you to finally finish your book. And remember, every successful author started exactly where you are right now. So take it one step at a time. And also make sure to subscribe for additional writing, publishing, and book marketing tips in the future.